Hi, welcome to the Book Lab. I'm Björn, and it's a new year, it's a new month. It's time to look at the new non-fiction releases, this time for January 2026, and there's a whole bunch of them. And of course, the theme is a little bit that renewal of yourself, the promise of a newly invented you that comes every time there is a new year. But there's also other things, and this list contains 6 very different books, not only about how to improve yourself for the new year, but also about power, about the psychology of games, drinking, teenage hackers, and world domination. Let's jump right into it. The first book is called The Score: How to Stop Playing Somebody Else's Game. It's a book about the philosophy of games by the philosopher Thi Nguyen. I can't really pronounce that, but that's just a theme on this show that I mispronounce and butcher authors' names. A philosophy of games to help us win back control over what we value. This guy, Nguyen, quote, is one of the leading experts on the philosophy of games and the philosophy of data, and he takes us on a deep dive into the heart of games and into the depths of bureaucracy to see how scoring systems shape our desires. And that's the thing, as we start to gamify and add scoring systems on things like work, we also twist the incentives somewhat. It's very easy to lose yourself playing for the scores that someone else has put there and the ranking system that they have built. It's so easy to forget that those actions that are incentivized might not be in line with your own actual values. Quote, scoring systems are also at the center of our corporations and bureaucracies in the forms of metrics and rankings. They tell us exactly how to measure success. They encourage us to outsource our values to an external authority, and they push on us to value simple, countable things. Metrics don't capture what really matters, they only capture what is easy to measure. This book, The Score, asks us if this is really the game that we want to be playing. Super interesting book, but let's jump into the next one right away. And this is very much on the theme of this week, at least for me, because I'm a bit hungover doing this the day after New Year's. I had a great party last night. I don't regret anything, but this book is called Why We Drink Too Much. I didn't do that really. I drank moderately, and the impact of alcohol on our bodies and our culture. And it's out on January 6th, and it's by, oh, I forgot to note the author. Well, Dr. Charles Knowles. Alcohol, we drink it, we celebrate with it, but we barely question it. But what is alcohol really doing to us? That is the question that this book asks. Quote, pairing scientific expertise with his personal experience, Dr. Charles Knowles offers us an accessible window into what really happens in our brain and our body when we drink and why we do it. People vary greatly in the amount of rewards they derive from alcohol, both physically and mentally. It is the genes that we are born with and the environment in which we grow up. For some of us, alcohol is greatly enhancing. For others, it's not much fun at all. So this book seems to promise a deep dive into both the biology and psychology of alcohol. And I have a question that I've actually been pondering and talking to my friends about this year, and maybe you have the answer to this. But when I grew up, we were always out drinking and partying, but I can see the younger generation are quite the opposite. Like they never go out drink. People always turn drinks down, or they drink very, very sparsely and moderately. And I have no idea why this is. I mean, if you drink because you want to have a release from your problems, then they should also drink, because I guess young people these days also have pressures and stressors that could be relieved. But that was not why I was out partying either. That was just something we did in our small little town. In the weekend, you drank beer and partied and met up with people, and that trend seems to be totally dead. So if you know why this is, because no one has come with a good answer to this question. So if you know about it, let me know in the comments. Quote, From the sober curious to those who may need help, and also readers that just are interested in popular science books on what happens when you sip a glass of wine. Why we drink too much teaches the reader the science behind drinking and invites us to examine our relationship with alcohol. This is a book I would love to read. Sounds really interesting. I also read another book. I don't think I have it here. I'm in my spare library, so to speak. I don't have all my books there. Called Drinking, a love story. I have a review of that on the channel. Search for it. It's a pretty good book, a memoir from a high-functioning alcoholic. It's a really good book that you should check out. But let's hit the next book, which is called Exile Economics. It's by Ben Shu. It's a must-read guide to the global trade war. It promises to be that, at least. And nations are turning away from each other. Faith in globalization has been fatally undermined since the pandemic, the energy crisis, the surging trade frictions, and swelling great power rivalries. A new vision is vying to replace what we have known for many decades. And this vision, Exile Economics, entails a rejection of interdependence, a downgrading of multilateral collaboration, and a striving for a greater national self-sufficiency. The supporters of this new order argue that it would establish genuine security, prosperity, and peace. But is this promise achievable, or is it a seductive delusion? I really want to read this book because I've kind of like the idea of nations being more self-reliant. Take Sweden, for instance, where I'm from. We have outsourced our manufacturing, have dismantled our armies, and shut down our power plants. The perfect recipe for being taken advantage of some naughty state around that sees an opportunity to impose their power onto a weak state. So it's a really interesting topic, especially in 2026, I guess, as we can see these power struggles everywhere and many nations withdrawing and trying to build more on a local level and more in their own self-interest. Quote, through the stories of globally traded commodities, from silicon to steel and from soybeans to solar panels, economic journalist Ben Shu illustrates the intricate web of interdependence that has come to bring nations together, and that underlines the dangers of this new push towards isolationism. A book that is going on my reading list for sure. But we have other things. Something called guilt. You might have heard of it. You might have felt it recently. I don't know. Guilt-free. Reclaiming your life from unreasonable expectations. This book is out on January 27th, and it's by Jennifer Reid. And here is a quote from Katie Milkman, author of How to Change. Quote, a roadmap to help you overcome the guilt that you've been socialized to feel when you put yourself first. The book asks the reader, what would life be like without that constant crushing weight of guilt? Quote, women today are living with so much guilt. Guilt for working too much, guilt for not working enough, guilt for saying no, guilt for saying yes, for taking a break, for asking for help. This emotion infiltrates every role we occupy: mother, partner, daughter, friend, employee, caregiver, and robs us of our capacity for joy and self-worth. I've been interested in guilt as a topic for a while, especially since I read Gabor Mate's books. Do I have any of them here? No, not at all, but I remember reading the book When the Body Says No, that has some really interesting parts about just the feeling of guilt. Another great read is Boundaries by Cloud and Townsend. When to say yes, how to say no, take control of your life. This is also a great book about boundaries, of course, and it also touches on the topic of guilt. This book is obviously aimed towards women, so this is something for our female audience here. But I wouldn't mind reading this either. I think it's, I mean, I've been struggling with people pleasing. I'm improving every year, but there's still more to that. So it's a great topic to explore. Quote, enough is enough, guilt-free is a revelatory, compassionate and deeply practical roadmap that every woman needs to break free from the impossible standards that shapes our daily life. So if you're interested in any of the books that I mentioned, like Boundaries, or even more so, because I thought that book was fantastic, and that book was When the Body Says No by Gabor Mate. Check out those reviews. Really, really good books. And now we've come to a title called The Element of Power, a story of war technology and the dirtiest supply chain on Earth. That's a mouthful, and it's out on January 29th. It's by Niarchos. Quote, in this rush for green energy, the world has become utterly reliant on resources unearthed far away and willfully blind to the terrible political, environmental, and social consequences of their extraction. If the Democratic Republic of Congo possesses such riches, why are its children routinely sent down into the deep and treacherous mines to dig with the most rudimentary of tools? Or in some cases with their bare hands? Why are Indonesia's sea and skies being polluted in a rush for battery minerals? So this book talks about the rush for precious metals, rare earths, all of that, and also the collateral damage, the pollution, and all the horrible things that it leaves in its wake. I assume. I don't know much about it, that's why I put it on the list. And I was very surprised, on a personal note, when this year the US started talking about taking control over Greenland, and I thought, like, Greenland? This was not in my bingo cards for something that the US would care about. But in short time, I understood that, of course, Greenland has a lot of rare earths, and then it made sense. It made total sense, in a way, at least in the hunt for rare earths that we need for technologies and the development of the AI race and the path towards more energy production technologies. Quote, with unparalleled original reporting, Niarchos reveals how the scramble to control these metals and their production is overturning the world order, just as the global race to drill oil shaped the 20th century. Exploring the advent of lithium-ion battery and tracing the supply chain for its production, Niarchos tells the story both of the people driving these tectonic changes and those whose lives are being upended. He reveals the truth, devastating consequences of our best intentions, and helps us prepare for an uncertain future. If you have ever used a smartphone or driven an electronic vehicle, then you are implicated. I think this gold rush for rare earths is just a phenomenally interesting topic that I've read very little about, and I'm ready to know more. That's why this book is on the list. Now for the last book, Ctrl+Alt+CHAOS, How Teenage Hackers Hijacked the Internet. It's out on January 27th, and it's by Yo Tidy. An immersive, quote, pulse-pounding expose of the global rise of teenage hackers, offering an insider's portrait of the darknet and the key players who are disrupting corporations, government institutions, and our everyday lives. And this book is a book for fans of Bad Blood and Uncanny Valley. I haven't read either of those books, but I felt this book was quite interesting. My son is turning into quite a whiz kid when it comes to like programming and stuff, so I thought, hey, maybe I need to know what's going on here, and, and also out of interest myself, since I'm very interested in internet technology and the subcultures around it. Quote, in this gripping true crime narrative, cybersecurity correspondent Yo Tidy reveals that there is one area in the criminal underworld that is being underestimated at our peril. The dark digital underbelly, where teenage boys are reshaping cybersecurity, cryptocurrency, and organized crime under the noses of their parents. This book promises to explore a lot of stories. I guess it's written in a very true crime, investigative, journalistic fashion. So it's probably a quite engaging book and easy and accessible. It explores the stories of Julius Kivimaki, aka C-Kill, arguably the most hated hacker in history. It explores a cyber attack in which 30,000 psychotherapy patients were blackmailed with their stolen notes. It also talks about how hackers as young as 12, my son is 10, so are taking down major institutional corporations and governmental assets. So it goes on and on like that. It sounds like a super interesting book, engaging, and just a sweet, relaxing book to get down into that dark underworld hacking space if you want to spend time there. That was the list for this month. A little bit haphazard, this video, I feel, but hey, it's the 1st of January and I got my first video done, so that's at least something. The pick of the month will be Exile Economics. It just sounds like a fantastic book. Let me know in comment which book you would like to read out of these, and I'm back very soon with more book reviews. I have finished Ryan Holiday's new book, Wisdom Takes Work. That's the correct title. And I also started to read an old classic from the 50s, I, Robot. So that would be a review of a fictional classic as well. And there will be more fictional classics this year. I can just feel it. I'm going to present my reading list for 2026. So there's a lot of content coming out. Let me know in the comments which one of these books you would like to read, and also if there are any upcoming books that you want me to cover next month. Until then, Björn out. Happy reading. See you soon. Bye bye.